The waves slapped against the side of the small boat like impatient hands, each crash sending a shiver through the hull and through me. I had agreed to this trip because I thought it would save my marriage. I thought a weekend getaway, just the two of us, would help us talk, reconnect, maybe even remember why we fell in love in the first place. But as the island came into view, a lonely patch of green in the endless blue, I didn't know that I was walking straight into the biggest betrayal of my life. Her name was Alina, beautiful, sharp-witted, and lately distant. For months, she'd been quieter, glued to her phone, stepping away to take calls, smiling at messages she would never let me see. I had asked if she was okay, if we were okay. She always said she was fine, but her eyes said something else. Still, I convinced myself it was stress, work, something fixable. Stupid. I was so stupid. The boat scraped against the shore, and she hopped out first, her shoes sinking into the warm sand. She breathed in deeply, like someone arriving at a place they'd been longing to return to. I followed more slowly, dragging the bags behind me. "This place is perfect," she said softly, turning her face toward the sunlight. "Exactly what I needed." I nodded, though something in my chest felt heavy. The island was quiet, peaceful, almost too peaceful. No other tourists, no boats anchored nearby. Just us and the sound of wind moving through the palm trees. We walked toward the small wooden hut we'd rented, barely more than a shed with a bed inside. I had picked it because she once said she loved simple places, nature, solitude. Now I wondered if I had projected that onto her, if maybe she'd changed long before I noticed. After we settled in, I asked if she wanted to explore the island. She hesitated too long before answering. "You go. I'll join you in a bit. I just want to rest." Her voice was soft, almost guilty. I didn't know. I wanted to believe her. I kissed her forehead, told her I'd be back soon, and stepped outside. I walked along the shoreline, trying to calm the unease twisting inside me. The air smelled of salt and sun. The sand was warm beneath my feet. It should have felt like paradise, but something was wrong. The whole time, I kept looking back toward the hut, expecting her to come after me. She didn't. After about an hour, I headed back. I heard the engine of the boat before I even saw it. Confused, I walked faster, heart pounding. When the trees parted and the beach came into view, I stopped cold. Alina was on the boat. Not just her, but a man stood beside her. Tall, done, smiling like he had just won something he'd been chasing for a long time. And Alina, she looked at him the way she hadn't looked at me in months. My voice cracked as I shouted her name. She flinched, barely, but didn't step off the boat. Instead, she looked at me with an expression I had never seen on her before. Not anger, not sadness, avoidance. "Alina, what are you doing?" I demanded, walking closer. The man spoke first. "She's coming with me," he said simply, like that was enough explanation for everything. My stomach dropped. "What? Alina, what is this? Who is he?" She swallowed hard. "I'm sorry. I should have told you. I'm leaving." Leaving? My voice trembled. "Here? On this island?" She avoided my eyes. "We didn't plan it like this. But it's better this way. You'll be picked up by a fishing crew tomorrow morning." "I arranged it. Tomorrow." My throat tightened. "So you're just abandoning me here?" She hesitated, then nodded. The man put his hand on her waist. She didn't push him away. Something inside me cracked so loudly, I swear the entire island heard it. I stepped forward, but the boat was already pulling away, the motor roaring, the waves rising between us like a wall. I kept shouting, begging, demanding answers. But she didn't look back. Not once that I stood there until the boat became a dot on the horizon, until the sun dipped lower and the reality sank in like cold water around my ankles. She left me. For a long time, I just stood there, staring at the empty stretch of ocean where the boat had disappeared. The shock settled into my bones like cold rain. A part of me kept waiting to wake up, to hear her laughter behind me, to realize it was all some horrible prank. But the silence told the truth. The breeze moved through the palm trees. The waves rolled in and out. The sky slowly shifted from bright afternoon to the deep gold of evening. Everything stayed exactly as it was, except my life. Eventually my knees gave out, and I sank into the sand. My hands clawed at it, trying to ground myself in something real. Abandoned, betrayed, humiliated. How long had she planned this? How many times had she looked me in the eyes and lied straight through her teeth? My mind replayed every suspicious moment, every late-night text, every canceled plan, every sudden meeting she couldn't explain. I thought she was overwhelmed. I thought she needed support. I didn't know she was quietly dismantling the life we built, piece by piece, with someone else. But anger couldn't help me survive. And survival, suddenly, was the only thing that mattered. The sun dipped lower, and the first shadows stretched across the island. Night would fall soon. I needed shelter, food, water, something to make it through until the fishing crew she mentioned showed up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning that a bitter laugh escaped me. Of all the lies she had told, this was probably the biggest one. She didn't leave me here to wait comfortably for help. She left me here so she never had to face me again. Still, I had no choice but to try. I forced myself to stand and walk back toward the hut we'd rented. Inside, her bag was gone. Mine was still there, half unpacked, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife a little deeper. I searched the hut for supplies. A bottle of water, a flashlight, a packet of crackers she must have forgotten in her rush to leave. Pathetic. But enough. For a while, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wooden floor. The room smelled like the sunscreen she used, the one with the coconut scent. It made my chest tight, like someone was pressing down on it with both hands. Everywhere I looked, I saw her. The imprint of her on the sheets. The hair tie she must have dropped. The book she had packed for the trip. Evidence of a person who had already moved on from me. I shook myself out of it. No more thinking about her. No more imagining what she was doing, what she was laughing at, what she was whispering to the man whose name I didn't even know. I walked back outside as darkness settled in. The sky was a blanket of stars, bright, beautiful, and completely indifferent to my suffering. I gathered some driftwood and made a small fire near the shore. The warmth soothed my trembling hands. Hours passed. I didn't sleep. Every crackle of fire, every rustle of leaves, every splash of waves kept me alert. Fear and anger kept me awake. Sometime past midnight, I heard something, a distant engine. My heart lurched. A boat? Already? I stood quickly, scanning the water. There was a small light, moving across the horizon. Hope flared inside me. But then the light turned, and turned again, and slowly drifted further away. Not closer. They weren't coming for me. Dunham, why hope faded as quickly as it had appeared. I sank back onto the sand, staring at the dark water. The loneliness felt heavy, suffocating. My mind started whispering thoughts I didn't want to face. What if nobody was coming at all? What if she lied about everything? Right down my rescue. What if I was supposed to disappear here? The truth settled over me like cold wind. She didn't just leave me. She discarded me. And as the fire crackled beside me, another truth crystallized, hard, sharp, burning. She thought I would break. She thought I would give up, fade out, disappear quietly. She had no idea who I really was. I wasn't going to die on this island. I wasn't going to be her forgotten mistake. I was going to walk out of here alive. When the first light of morning crept over the horizon, I was already awake. I hadn't slept at all. My body was exhausted, but my mind was sharp, wired, replaying everything that had happened. Anger had burned through most of the fear, leaving behind something cold, controlled, and unforgiving. If she thought abandoning me would break me, she had miscalculated. The island looked different in daylight. Less terrifying, more manageable. I stood up, brushed sand from my clothes, and told myself one thing. Survive first. Revenge later. I walked the island's perimeter, studying the shoreline for any sign of other people, footprints, campfires, nets, anything. But the sand was untouched, smooth except for the prints I'd left last night. The island was small, maybe a kilometer across. No houses, no docks, no communication towers, just nature. At least nature didn't lie. I found a cluster of coconut trees near the center of the island. With some effort and a lot of slipping, I managed to knock down 2 coconuts by throwing a branch repeatedly. It wasn't glamorous, but it was food, water. Survival, DAS. I cracked one open against a rock. The sweet liquid spilled into my hands, and I drank it like medicine. Every sip tasted like clarity returning to my mind. By midday, I had explored more of the island. I found a stream, small but clean. That was a blessing. And near a rocky cliffside, I discovered something else. An old wooden crate half covered in sand and moss. It looked ancient, maybe from a wreck or old shipment. When I pried it open, all I found was fishing line, a rusted hook, and a dull knife. But to me, it felt like treasure. With the fishing line and hook, I could try catching food. And the knife, well, it was barely sharp enough to cut butter, but it made me feel safer. Still, as I walked back to the hut with my discoveries, the thoughts I'd been pushing down all morning came rushing back again. Why did she do it like this? Why not just leave me at home? Why not ask for a divorce? Why abandon me on an island unless she wanted distance or deniability? The more I replayed her expression, the way she avoided my eyes, the way she clung to that man, the more everything clicked into a darker pattern. She didn't want confrontation. She wanted escape from guilt, from responsibility, from consequences. Leaving me on an isolated island ensured no scenes, no arguments, no emotions she didn't want to deal with. She thought giving me a lie about rescue tomorrow was enough to ease her conscience, and why hands clenched around the crate's handle. Maybe she even hoped I'd give up. Maybe she thought I'd panic or collapse, but she didn't know what I had inside me. She didn't know what betrayal could awaken in someone who had loved honestly, fully, and without holding anything back. That'd be why the time the sun started dropping toward the horizon again, I had a plan. Not a detailed one, not yet, but a direction, a purpose, a fire inside me that made the hunger and exhaustion feel like background noise. That I built a better fire pit, using stones to hold the flames steady against the ocean breeze. I sharpened the dull knife on a flat rock until it could at least cut into wood. And when I finally caught a small fish with a makeshift line, I cooked it over the flames, chewing slowly, forcing myself to stay disciplined. Every bite tasted like fuel. Every breath felt like a promise. When the stars appeared again, I sat near the waves, letting the cold water wash over my feet as I stared out at the dark horizon, searching, waiting, calculating. Someone would pass by eventually. A fishing boat, a tourist, a supply run. And when they did, I would leave this island and I would get back to the mainland. And then I would rebuild myself. Quietly, carefully, strategically. This wasn't going to be a messy, impulsive revenge. Not screaming, not fighting, not chasing them like some rage-blinded fool that knew what was coming for them. Both of them would be clean, precise, devastating, a dismantling. Days passed. I stopped counting after the fourth sunrise. Each morning felt like a copy of the one before. Quiet, empty, merciless. The island became a world of routines. Searching for coconuts, checking the stream, improving the shelter, sharpening the knife, watching the horizon for boats that never came. But something else grew inside me, too. Discipline. Sharp, focused discipline that I stopped thinking of myself as a victim stranded by someone I loved. Instead, I started thinking like a survivor preparing for a return. A return that would not be gentle or forgiving. That'd be why the seventh morning, I noticed I had changed. My hands were rougher. My movements were steadier. My thoughts were clearer. The initial panic and heartbreak had burned away, leaving behind something like steel. And that was when everything shifted. It was late afternoon when I first heard it, the faint, rhythmic thump of an engine. My heart leapt in my throat. I ran to the shore so fast I nearly tripped over my own feet. There in the distance was a small wooden boat, moving slowly along the coastline. That I waved both arms, shouting until my throat felt raw. For a moment, I thought the boat would pass me like all the others. But then, it turned toward me. Hope crashed through me so violently I nearly cried. The boat reached the shallows, and an older man with sun-browned skin stepped out, pushing his craft onto the sand. He wore a faded shirt, torn trousers, and a smile that was missing more teeth than it had. "You look like you've been out here too long," he said in accented English that I almost collapsed. "You have no idea." He helped me into his boat and handed me a bottle of water. I drank half of it in one breath, gasping as the world sharpened around me. The man introduced himself as Mateo, a local fisherman who checked remote islands for lost nets and debris. "Lucky you," he said as he started the engine. "I don't come here often." Lucky that IT didn't feel like luck, that IT felt like the universe giving me a chance to finish something. When the boat reached the mainland, I stepped on a solid ground with a mix of relief and burning purpose. I thanked Mateo, promising I'd repay him one day. But my mind was already running miles ahead, straight to her. Alina. Her name no longer felt soft. It tasted like ashes that I walked for an hour until I reached a small roadside shop with a public phone. My hands trembled slightly as I dialed the number I once knew better than my own heartbeat. IT rang twice. "Hello?" Her voice. Smooth. Calm. Completely unaware, I didn't say anything. "Hello? Who is this?" Again, silence. "Is someone there?" she snapped, irritation creeping in her tone. Then, somewhere behind her, I heard a man's voice, the same one from the boat. "Babe, who is it?" I hung up. What surprised me was that I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt clarity. They were together. Happy. Untouched. They thought I was far away, quiet, harmless, perfect. I bought a cheap smartphone with the little cash I had left in my wallet. A miracle it survived the island at all. Then I found the nearest internet cafe. The moment I connected to Wi-Fi, my screen exploded with notifications. Dozens of messages from friends, that a few from coworkers, point one from her mother, all asking the same thing. "Where are you? When are you coming back? Alina said you needed space. Is everything okay?" So that was the story she told. She didn't just leave me on an island. She erased me from our life. She crafted a narrative. She prepared excuses. She even set the stage to make it seem like I had chosen distance. Clever. Cowardly. But clever that I studied those messages with a calmness that should have scared me. Each word Alina fed them was a string. And with enough strings, you can build a trap. I leaned back in the plastic chair, watching the afternoon sun paint long shadows across the tiled floor. The first thing I did after leaving the internet cafe was find a cheap room to stay in. Nothing more than a bed, a weak fan, and walls thin enough to hear the neighbors breathe. But it was enough. I sat on the mattress, staring at the ceiling, letting everything settle inside me. Survival mode was over. Now I was in strategy mode that I kept replaying the moment Alina turned her back on me, the way she held on to that man like she belonged to him. The quiet cruelty in her decision. The ease with which she erased me. I realized she hadn't changed suddenly. She had been planning this for a long time, rearranging the pieces of our shared life while pretending everything was normal. If she could play long-term, so could I. That I spend hours going through the messages I had received while I was missing. Each one gave me pieces of the story she told everyone. That I needed time alone, that I was burnout, that she respected my space, that I would return when I was ready, that IT was almost admirable how neatly she tied the lie together. Almost that be why morning, I had a plan, simple at first, but expandable. I wasn't going to scream at her, or attack her, or chase her around demanding answers. That's what she would expect from someone broken. Someone desperate. That I wasn't that man anymore. That I started with information. I found where she worked. I found the gym she visited, the cafe she loved, the neighbors she frequently complained about. I found her social media. Not directly, but through tag pictures, mutual friends, hints. And I found him. The man from the boat. His name was Lucas. A fitness trainer. The type who posted endless motivational quotes under shirtless photos. Shallow confidence. Careless charm. Exactly the kind of man who'd take another man's wife without blinking. Their pictures together weren't online, at least not yet. That told me everything. They were still hiding it. Not for morality. For convenience. Point two, people who destroyed a home always hide their relationship until they're sure the dust has settled. I was going to make sure the dust never settled. But revenge wasn't about ruining their lives loudly. It was about shifting the ground beneath them so quietly they wouldn't notice until they were neck deep in consequences. That I walked past the gym Lucas worked at. I studied the place, its layout, its staff rotation, the kind of people who went in and out. I wasn't planning anything physical. I didn't need to. The world ruins the careless all on its own. You just need to guide it. From there, I went to the office building where Alina worked. I didn't go inside, I just observed. The people she greeted, the colleagues she avoided, the manager she always complained about at home. I could see immediately how she curated her image. Responsible, calm, reliable. Funny how someone could look so stable after throwing their marriage into the ocean. Afternoon, I returned to my room and started setting things in motion. Not lies, not manipulation, just truth delivered to the right places. That I drafted a message to her manager. Nothing dramatic, no accusations. Just a simple explanation that I had been abandoned without warning, that she had left me stranded, that she had taken company property with her on a personal trip, that she had misused her leave days, that she had told people I needed space while hiding what actually happened, that I didn't send it yet, that I saved it. Revenge wasn't about impulsiveness. It was about timing. Next, I wrote a message to her mother. Not angry, not emotional, just honest. Your daughter left me on an island. The truth, when properly placed, becomes a detonator to by evening. I felt something I hadn't felt since the moment she sailed away from me. Control. Not over her, not over anyone. Over myself. I made a small dinner with whatever the room provided. I sat near the window, watching cars pass by, people living their lives, unaware that a quiet storm was forming in a cheap hotel room. Not chaos, not violence. Something colder, a strategic dismantling. She built her escape carefully, but I was building something even more precise. She thought she'd buried me on that island, but what she really did was give me time. Waited 2 more days before making my next move. Not because I was afraid, fear had drained out of me on the island, but because revenge requires patience, timing, precision, and silence. The silence was the sharpest weapon. That I didn't contact her. I didn't block her. I didn't announce I was back. I let her believe I was gone, emotionally, physically, permanently. I let her enjoy the comfort of her new life, the softness of her lies, the illusion that consequences didn't exist for people like her. Then I disappeared into my work. The thing about being stranded on an island is that you learn what truly matters, what you're capable of, and what you've left unfinished. I realized how much of myself I had sacrificed for her. Dreams postponed, plans abandoned, ambitions dimmed because I told myself we were a team. But standing on the mainland again, I understood the truth. I wasn't rebuilding to get her back, that I was rebuilding to become someone she could never touch again, in the following weeks, I dedicated myself to leveling up every part of my life. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. I got a better job, one that paid more and demanded more of me. I trained every day, pushing my body until the island strength became city strength. I saved money. I cut toxic people out. I built new routines, new connections, new confidence, all while staying silent. Meanwhile, little cracks began to appear in Alina's new world. Her mother sent me a message after I reached out. Just one line. Is what you said true? I didn't reply. Truth, once released, spreads on its own. The manager I'd drafted the email to eventually receive the message. Not from me. I still hadn't pressed send. The truth found another path. A coworker reached out asking if I was okay because Alina's story didn't add up. Again, I didn't reply. Not replying was the loudest thing I could do. Silence makes people fill in the blanks with their own guilt. Soon, her social media went quiet. The curated smiles disappeared. The gym pictures of Lucas became less frequent. Then suddenly, I saw a post from a mutual friend. Not about her, but about him. Lucas had been fired. Apparently, inappropriate behavior with a married woman was reported to management. Gym management hates scandals. That I wondered if Alina still called him babe. I wondered if she still laughed the way she did on that boat. Or if she had started looking at him the way she used to look at me. Like something fading that I didn't need to interfere. Rot spreads fastest in relationships built on betrayal. 2 months after my return, I woke up to an unexpected message. That IT was from her. Just one word, please. I stared at it for a long moment. Not because I felt anything, not love, not sadness, not longing, just closure. Another message arrived minutes later. Can we talk? I heard. I heard what happened. I didn't know you were safe. Safe? She had never once checked. She had never called rescue services. Never notified the authorities. Never even asked my family if they'd heard from me. She had erased me so cleanly she expected life to move on without the complication of my existence. And now that her own world was cracking, she wanted to talk, that I could have replied with anger, that I could have exposed her publicly, that I could have ripped apart everything she was trying to rebuild. But that would require emotional investment. And she deserved none that, yes, oh, I did the one thing she never expected, that I replied with absolute calm. I'm doing well. Hope you are too. No accusations, that no emotion, no space for reconciliation. Just nothing. Her next messages came fast. Can we meet? Please. I messed up. I need to explain. I didn't block her. Blocking is anger. Silence is closure. And silence was the last gift I was giving her. Weeks passed. Her texts stopped coming. Her mother messaged again, saying Alina was not doing well. Lucas had left her. People had begun talking. The story she crafted had collapsed under the weight of its own lies that I didn't celebrate. Revenge wasn't J. O. Y.IT was balance, justice. Not by force, by truth. One quiet evening, I walked along the city shoreline. The waves rolled gently, nothing like the brutal ones that watched me break apart on that island. I breathed in the salt air and smiled faintly. I had survived, I had rebuilt, and I had become someone unrecognizable to the man who boarded that island boat months ago. Revenge wasn't leaving her destroyed.